So when we're working with handles, what you want to do is make use of the handle cutters. I have them here. You can do other ways to create handles, but the handle cutters work exceptionally well. So make use of them. There's two sizes. The small one would only be for a very small mug. The larger one would be for any larger size mug like the one that's here, and pitchers, working with those for sure. What I would do is, so I'm going to choose the larger one since this is a larger cup. What you want to do is take out a new block of clay and cut off of there. You can cut the long way if you're working with a pitcher. You can cut the short way if you're working with a mug. So I'm just going to push in here, push near the edge, make sure that you're in the clay but close enough that you can get the clay out of there afterwards. So start it on the edge and then pull it straight through. And it might follow it out. If it does, that's great. If it doesn't, what you have to do is kind of peel that side over and then roll it out of there. And you end up with a circle of clay to work with. You'll notice the one that I have pre-prepared for this from last hour for a student. This is a student's pot or cup that's going to happen. I got it shaped and I got it a little bit thinner. So in order to thin this out, what I would do is kind of press with my hand straight down nice and even all the way through it and kind of wipe so that the fingerprints get out of there. Get a handle that's like this. Don't have a tiny little handle that you put on things because it will either break when you're working on it or it will break later on when you're drinking out of it. It gets too heavy for it. It ends up breaking off of there. So a nice substantial handle to hold on to so that the hand feels comfortable. Keep in mind that it is going to shrink in the process too, so make sure you leave enough room for your hand to be able to get in after it's shrunk down. After you get it the shape thickness that you want it to be, then you're going to go in and actually kind of coax it into the direction you want it to go. Clay has a memory to it, so don't do this like 10 times back and forth trying to figure out. Get your shape that you want to work on and just do it once. Even it all out and then take a look at it on the side of the pot. Make sure you like what it looks like. Try to make mugs as much as you can so that it will come up off of the side so that the side is connected to it like this. If it's just butted up against the side of it, use this for an example. If it's just coming off the edge like this, it's more likely to potentially break off of it than it is if it kind of comes up and has connections both top and bottom to the clay. So get it to the shape that you want it to be. Check it, then you can cut it down. You can use a needle tool to do this or just a fork, whatever you want. Cut it straight so that both of the edges, when they come onto there, will have a good connection. So this is a good shape for it. Again, make sure your hand fits in there pretty nicely as you're working. Now, don't just try to push this onto here. You're going to need to make sure that you slip and score the pieces together to make them fit. So this one I'm going to make use of, actually I like this one better. A lot of times if your handle is really a little bit thinner, you might have to use the hairdryer on it for like a minute to get it so that it will hold itself when you pick it up like this, especially the bigger pieces. This one's been sitting since last hour, so it's about the right consistency. I'm going to figure out where it is going to touch on here. I'm going to make some marks. Oops. I'm going to make some marks on either side where this is connecting. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to score this, which is scratching the surface, and score here also. Both sides that come together. I'm going to add some slip to it. Be generous with the slip. If you put the scratch marks, you need to make sure that you fill it with the glue, basically. So I'm going to put that onto there, put it on. I'm going to kind of wiggle it as I kind of press in a little bit. That kind of settles it down into there. Same at the top. I'm going to set it down before I get this on here too much and look at it straight on and make sure that it really is straight up and down when I'm working on it. So now I'm going to give it another good press, top and bottom, and then I'm just going to clean it up. And most of the time, as much as I possibly can, I just use my finger to do most things. If you need to, you can use a pencil. But I went and watched another professional potter, the Carleton professor was talking about too. She said a lot of people expect all these fancy tools. The fact of the matter is a fork, your hand, and a pencil is really all that she said that she uses too. So don't expect that you need all these tools. Just clean up the slip that's on there then. That's extra. Decide if you want to smooth it down into here or if you want to just keep it so that it's a little bit separated. Think about if you want to put any decorations going down the side of it or any kind of handle that's kind of decorative, and just see if your hand fits in there. And then make sure that this stays at least one night in a tub or in a bag so that these have a chance to get used to each other in the amount of water that's in them. Right now they're at different levels since one has been sitting for a day, one is off the block. Never ever try to connect anything that's already been dry. If you try to connect something that's wet onto something that's dry, it will not hold. Plus the thing that dried already did its shrinking, so therefore it'll just shrink right off of there too. So, okay, any questions?